You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Good morning, everybody. It's a Friday in July, 18th. Summer's almost gone. You're not just listening to Keith Engle, you're listening to Jack Hirsh and Keith Engle with Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. And I welcome in Boxing Hall of Fame writer Jack Hirsh. How are you today, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith. A little hot here still, but it'll cool off a bit.
Well, it's
but sports never cools off. It never really cools off.
You know what? It's funny. In a week that is often billed as, the slowest sports week of the year, I'm sure you've heard that. We had some interesting news we'll get into today. We'll talk about the All-Star game and our thoughts on that, which I'm going to try not to go to ballistic. We had some big contract extensions in the NFL, the Jets and Pittsburgh. We got Belichick and Kraft still shooting darts at each other. Big boxing news. Damian Lillard going home. Caitlin Clark. David Wright's jersey being retired. We'll get to as much of this as we can. We want to welcome everybody watching today on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can see all the groups not all the groups, my favorite groups that allow me to share my shows, including this one, to them. They're scrolling at the bottom, and thank you to all the others. But to get right into it, let's start with the All-Star game because I swore I wouldn't watch it, but I did because that's who I am. And there was some good things here, Jack. I don't know about you. I thought that Kershaw getting on a team, getting kind of a goodbye was nice. He pitched to a couple batters, pitched fine, gets to walk off to an ovation. I liked it. The Henry Aaron tribute I thought was really good. We're back to regular uniforms, which is good, and I like the introductions. That's the best part of the All-Star game for me is the player introductions. I enjoyed it. I even enjoyed, and I'm going to be a hypocrite here, I really enjoyed the Jacob Wilson interview, which I don't normally like those players mic'd up. I complain about it all the time, but that was kind of fun. But a 6-0 lead being blown by the American League,
National League,
sorry, and a nice comeback by the American League is kind of destroyed by me by the very anticlimactic ending of watching people bring out screens and coaches doing the pitching at the end of the game and a guy winning the MVP who didn't even have a bat in the game. Kyle Schwarber hits 3 home runs and a swing off. And I've got players, and I hope to God they got tongue-in-cheek when they say this, saying, we should decide all the games this way. I hope they're kidding, Jack. This is just scary for me if this is where we're going.
Well, Keith, I mean, we're not going to get along for this particular show because I don't agree with you. I mean, on this, I said this long ago, and Mac used to put me down for it. These extra inning games are terrible for the fans. They go way too long. The games were going too long as it was for 9 innings. And to torture fans and put them through potentially a 13, 14, 15 inning game or whatever is awful. You decided with a home run derby format, it's the most entertaining. It's an even playing field. You get up your best hitters. The home run is the most exciting single play in all of baseball. It is. I mean, you're talking about inside the park homers, but those are so rare. Don't dig up something to me that's like a triple play that's ridiculously rare.
The
home run on balance is the most exciting play in all of baseball. And you settle it that way. They do it in soccer with the penalty kicks. If they didn't do it that way in soccer, the game would go on forever potentially. But I'm going to tell you where I was for most of the All-Star game. I didn't watch it because my son-in-law plays in an adult basketball league. Quality players, a lot of them had played college ball. And I went to Brooklyn College. I caught his game. I drove back. I was looking and getting updates on the All-Star game. but I got back, at the beginning of the eighth inning, and I watched from there on in, and that was the good part of the game, obviously, seeing the American League tying it up in the ninth inning, then watching the home run derby. My complaint is you want to win this game, and I've been defending Aaron Boone. I'm getting sick of Aaron Boone now. Those are his 3 hitters he has up there. No Cal Raleigh, no Aaron Judge for the home run derby, and then the National League, no Ohtani. What kind of insanity is that?
They're gone. I mean, they're not even in the ballpark. They
should be required to stay there in case they're needed for the home run derby.
No argument about that one specific point. But listen, you talk about, the good thing, the great thing. One of the great things about baseball, there is no time clock. There are clocks now, unfortunately. But as far as the limit of the game goes until somebody wins. That's baseball. Boxing, I can understand coming from your boxing background. We got neat 3-minute rounds and 12 or 15. Well, not 15 rounds anymore, but 12 rounds, whatever it is. And football and basketball, everything's neatly timed, and you have a specific start and a specific end to everything, quarters, halves, and games. Baseball's not built that way. Never was. And you diametrically, I have problems with shootouts in hockey. I have problems with shootouts in soccer. You play one game for however long, 9 innings, 40 minutes, and then you change 60 minutes in football, and you change the game entirely to decide who wins. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's not.
No, you're not used to it because that's the way it's always been. Okay, that's you don't want the change taking place, but the games will go on forever potentially. You don't want a 14, 15, 16 inning game.
Why?
It is too long. It's unfair to the people going to the ballpark.
I don't
see that. It's unfair to the players to stretch them out. Then you could say football. There shouldn't be any tied games. Let them play until one team wins. Let them play 2-3 quarters extra.
Football for years was played and ties were okay. I'm okay with ties in football. Football's not baseball. Baseball is a totally different sport, and you are diametrically changing the game when you decide it with something as stupid as a home run hitting contest, which we do.
Rules change, Keith. Holding a run on at first base. You're only allowed to throw over so many times to first base before the run is awarded second base. I thought of that long ago. It took them forever to come up with the rule that I thought about.
Why is that a good rule? Why is that a good rule?
Because the pitcher could keep throwing to first base over and over and over.
Yeah, to keep a guy from stealing second base. Yes, now you're giving him a free pass every time you're thrown over once.
No, it's part of the strategy. I'm all for that home run derby, but the way it was done during the All-Star game was an absolute disgrace. Was that Aaron Boone's doing? If that was Aaron Boone's doing, okay, if he was the reason they blew the All-Star game, if he could have gotten the players to stay, Raleigh and Judge, if he was able to get them to stay and told them, you guys could change and leave, he'd have one foot out the door as far as I'm concerned, as far as firing him, letting him go, because Aaron Boone lately has been way off his game. As a manager, the way he's been defending Anthony Volpe amongst other things. And I haven't been too happy with Aaron, Aaron Boone as a late.
Wow, you sound a little like your partner here today, Jack. Thank you for getting on the Aaron Boone, anti-Aaron Boone wagon. This isn't all Aaron Boone's fault. This is the league and the game's fault for letting players play their 3 innings, shower, and just leave. And that's what's happened for a long, long time. One of the reasons this game has gotten the way it's gotten and nobody cares about it is these guys don't care. They don't stick around to see who wins. And Aaron Boone said specifically he chose the 3 guys he chose because he knew they'd be around at the end of the game, and the guys you mentioned would not be. And if you're going to have this ending, if I was going to agree with you that this is the way this game should end, I would agree with you the fact that you have to have your best players, home run hitters in that spot. And
You should see. We have a post. I see on the side. I'm reading from Michael. God, in the UK, cricket matches. Last for 5 days. I mean, I guess you're okay with that, Keith. You're okay with that timeline.
I don't know a lot about cricket, so I'm not going to get too worked up either way. But I didn't know they had games that lasted for 5 days. I'm sure they don't continue.
If I was the big executive and we were carrying all the sports, Keith, and you were one of the broadcasters, that's what I'd assign you to. You know, the cricket matches. That's your style. It'll go on fabulous. So good.
So hold on, I would treat you nicer if you were assigning me those types of assignments, Jack. I would be nicer. And Rick wants to know if your son-in-law's team won, by the way.
No, they lost badly.
Hello, Brian. How are you? And it is an all-star game, and I'm not sure what exactly.
But I understand what Brian means. I wanted the best hitters to be there at the end of the game. Now, if the AL could have a do-over, and all they had to do was ask, Judge Raleigh to stick around because they needed them to hit, the guys wouldn't have changed. If there's no possibility of the guy getting back in the game, it's okay he changes. It's okay he showers, whatever. Paul Skeens started the game, came back in street clothes at the end of the game. That was fine with me. There was no chance of him getting back in the game.
I'm talking about
him showering and changing. He's not hurting the team.
They have been leaving the park, though, a lot of these guys. They're not even there. The bench is half empty. By the way, why am I bringing 39 players? Each roster had 39 guys, 17 pitchers, and we can't play 10 innings? Come on. This is just
know what time the game ended, Keith? The dawn game ended, as I recall, about 11:45 in the evening, approximately. And that's Eastern time. That's on a work day, Keith, on a work day. So, and it's unfair for the people watching the dawn game. They don't want to stay up that late. They got work the next day.
So start the game at 7:30. I mean,
you could start the game earlier, an hour earlier. I agree. If you want to argue that point, but they don't, and it's always they start the game 8 o'clock, but the first pitch is actually thrown, closer to 8:15, 8:20 or thereabouts.
Well, Brian's saying his meaning is really who cares either way. But I mean, again, I guess we shouldn't be having the argument at all.
The end of the game, the way the game ended for the American League, at least you want to see the best players out there in the home run derby. It's supposed to be entertainment. Keith, you yourself said, it's fine. You could have an all-star pitcher who's only had 5 starts in his career because people want to see him because he's a phenom. But in the meantime, there's complete hypocrisy. We didn't have Juan Soto on the team. He was his box office, but they didn't put him on, they claimed, based on merit, even though I thought he belonged on based on merit. And then at the end of the game, the fans wanted to see Judge Ohtani, so on, in the home run derby. That would have made it such great drama at the end of the game. I mean, I look at the guys they had up. Schwarber was a great guy to have up. Alonso would have been a great guy to have up who was waiting, for his hacks, of course.
Well, I did say it's a fans game. And you know what? The fans don't want to see swing-offs at the end. 67% of the people that were questioned said, no, we don't want to see this, ever.
They want to see Randy Arozarena up instead of Aaron Judge. You're telling me in the home run derby.
No, they don't want to see a home run derby. They want games to end the way they're supposed to end.
I'm not against lesser guys participating in the home run derby because that should be left up to the individual players whether they want to take place in the home run derby. They're not hurting their team. If Aaron Judge doesn't want to be in the home run derby and Chaz Chisholm is in his place, I'm okay with that. It's not as entertaining to watch, but Aaron Judge is not hurting any team at all. He made an individual choice. I'm fine with that completely. But But when you're representing a team like the American League, and that wasn't Judge's choice, I would think not. I think Ed Boone told him, look, we want you to stay in uniform. Yeah, I might need you at the end of the game if it's a tie. We have a home run derby. You're going to hit. Judge is the type of guy who would have said to Boone, I'm good with that. They could have had that conversation 2-3 weeks ago. He could have said, Aaron, what do you want to do? You're definitely one of my three guys. I'd like you to stick around, but you don't have to if you don't want to. He could have put it that way, I'm sure.
I keep telling you that the whole swing off thing is ridiculous, and you keep going back to who would be participating in it. Nobody wants to see this. 30% of the people want to see this, and
you just said the players like it. Didn't you just say a little while ago the players like it?
Well, the players, again, I hope tongue-in-cheek, they liked it in this game. They also, and here's the thing, it's a slippery slope. Are you saying that this is okay in an all-star game, or this is okay during the regular season?
It's okay during the regular season. It's strategy, Keith. But the one rule that has to apply during the regular season, if a guy leaves the game, he's allowed to come back in for the home run derby. And listen, at the end of 9 innings, wouldn't you love, as a Yankee fan, to see Judge and Stanton get up there?
No.
Come on.
No, I want to watch baseball. I don't want to see ghost runners.
Or you could tweak, Keith, you could tweak the rule for extra innings that you go down your list of 9 hitters. Everyone gets one swing at a time, 1 to 9, and you tally up how many home runs each side does that, and that determines who wins the game.
And a coach is going to throw you 50-mile-an-hour fastballs to do this, right? That's how we're going to determine baseball games. That's how we determine baseball games.
You still have to hit it out. The rules apply the same for both teams, and it's exciting to watch.
50-mile-an-hour fastball out at 65 years old. I'm telling you right now, this is ridiculous. 150 years of rules isn't good enough because we have a generation of people with the attention span of a gnat, and we have to change all the rules because they get bored. Oh,
you're living in the dark ages. You probably think batting fourth is prestigious because, it's the cleanup position. We're batting fourth as if the first 3 guys are going to get on base and you're cleaning up the bases. I mean, if you use statistics, I'm sure Major League Baseball, they have statistics for everything, Keith. For the biggest nonsense, they have statistics. If you show me in Major League Baseball how many times the first 3 guys got on base and they won first, second, and third, hitting ahead of the guy who's hitting fourth in the lineup, you would have probably a 1.2% ratio, if that. That's how obscure it would be.
I can't do
it. We hear, clean up, same thing we hear. Leadoff hitter gets on, then he steals second, you bunt him to third, and the next guy hits a sacrifice fly. Oh, that's so cute and wonderful to hear this nonsense we've been told. We were told the same nonsense by our teachers when we were young. Sneeze and cough into your hands so you don't spread germs.
I did it into my elbow.
Yeah.
But whatever. My grandmother told me the cold would cause you to catch cold too, which is baloney, by the way. Sorry, Grandma. Hope you're doing okay. Anyway, Brian's got a point. He says, we both make good points, but the team is a fan. He couldn't care less. Personally, I think midseason honorable mentions without any fanfare.
He doesn't even want a game. He just sit and give to everyone their days off.
If we're going to finish games this way, I don't want games either. I just stop. Just stop. That's all. Anyway.
Jeez, what about this idea in closing? What about the whole game is home run derby?
Fine.
You go through the lineup, everyone. That I would like. Now, I want to see him play a game.
We spend all this time deriding what the home run derbies become, but then we have one to finish the All-Star game. It's just, and by the way, not just the All-Star game. That's my point, Brian. My point is it's partly because it's the All-Star game. Stop playing it if you're going to do it this way. But it's a slippery slope. Guys like Jack, guys like Rob Manfred are going to say, oh, this worked out great. Let's do it in the regular season.
I just want to be with Keith. The players' enthusiasm, they were standing outside the dugout. They loved watching it. They were entertained.
I'm glad
the camaraderie the players were showing was really nice. At the end of the game, it was really nice to see.
Yeah.
They were into it. Keith, or better yet, if you want to do it this way and eliminate the home run derby, I've said it all along, make it the $1 million game. Losing team gets nothing at all. Winning team players all get $1 million. They would be playing really hard for the $1 million.
Jack, I've been behind that idea with you until you've been for the home run derby ending the game. Now I can't. I'm not giving guys $1 million because he got up and hit 3 home runs off a guy throwing the ball 50
How
miles.
about this, Keith? If you win it on the home run derby, the winning team gets $500,000.
Let's put it on a
The
team.
losing team that'll get $250,000. Okay.
Listen, before we depart baseball quickly, kudos to David Wright, who's having his uniform retired, his number 5 retired by the Mets this weekend. I'm not the biggest Met fan in the world, obviously, but David Wright was a classy player and one of the great Met players of all time, and I want to give my kudos to him. And you can say you're
David Wright is a class act, wonderful player. Injuries derailed his career, where he seemed to possibly be on a trajectory for the Hall of Fame. He couldn't get there. He was on the ballot, but he's not a Hall of Fame. Let's be honest. A Met Hall of Famer, yeah.
Oh, yes.
This retiring of numbers has gotten to be ridiculous. You do not retire a number unless it's a Willie Mays for the Giants. The Mets retired Willie Mays' number. I mean, come on. Unless it's for the Giants or Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio for the Yankees, this has gotten out of hand. Darryl Strawberry plays 8 years for the Mets, 8 years. And then he leaves as a free agent of his own accord. And they retire his number. I mean, what are we going to have next? Are the Knicks going to retire Carmelo Anthony's number?
Are you saying?
Come on.
So you have a problem with
this is getting ridiculous. These guys are not iconic for the franchise. David Wright was a wonderful Met. I put it in capital letters. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Put him in the team Hall of Fame. He should be a New York Met.
You wouldn't retire his number?
Hall of Famer, but do not retire his number. There's only one Met.
Yeah, you'll have one guy. You'll have one guy. That's all you'll have.
That's all. To retire, but you have a team Hall of Fame. Tom Seaver is the only one Met who should have his number retired. Tom Seaver was an iconic Met, more so than any other Met.
I mostly agree with you on this topic. I would retire a guy like David Wright's number. I would retire Don Mattingly's number with the Yankees, but the Yankees are like the poster child for retiring too many numbers now. Reggie's number shouldn't be retired, right? I mean, there's no way. He's been there 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. I mean, there are certain guys who have to have their numbers retired. And by the way, while I will say Mattingly was a better player at his peak than David Wright, I don't think you'd argue with me that.
No.
I think it's very interesting. Their careers are very similar in the fact that injuries took away what might have been Hall of Fame careers, as you said, and very similar. I think David Wright's injuries were back related too, weren't they?
Yeah, but Keith, don't misunderstand me. Getting into a team Hall of Fame shouldn't be easy. It should be difficult. It's prestigious, and it should be very prestigious. But Team Hall of Fames should be for the Keith Hernandezes, Gary Carters, Dwight Goodens, Darryl Strawberries. And I'm talking about being in the Team Hall of Fame. But don't retire their numbers.
You wouldn't retire any of those guys' numbers. I got it. All right.
No, absolutely not. I mean, these guys didn't have the long, iconic careers. Take a case of Keith Hernandez. Let's say he got into Cooperstown. That happened. And as the years go by, there's more and more merit to making an argument in Hernandez's favor because we value defense and first baseman now more than we ever did. And if I tell you Keith Hernandez was the greatest defensive first baseman in baseball history, you can disagree with me, but it's arguable at the very least, and a lot of people would agree. He's certainly one of the greatest, if not the greatest. So once we're discussing about a player being the best defensively in the history of the game at his position, it has merit. But if Keith Hernandez got into Cooperstown and you had to sit down and make an objective choice, should he go in as a Met or Cardinal? Wow. I mean, his credentials might be a little better as a Cardinal if you look at it carefully enough. But he's very popular as a Met, getting on Seinfeld and all that. But he won a World Series with the Cardinals. He won an MVP with the Cardinals.
Great player. Listen, the best defensive first baseman argument he's in the conversation, but so's Donnie. Donnie, people dismiss Donnie's defensive prowess. I think he's pretty close to Hernandez.
11 Gold Gloves for Hernandez, 9 for Mattingly.
Yeah. I mean, it's very close.
My point is, you don't retire the numbers. I don't think you retire Don Mattingly's number, not quite.
We'll disagree.
No, but like I said, you retire. It's a sticky situation. How many numbers you can retire? If you're the Yankees, I'm talking about a little while ago. Okay, the Mets, I said only Steve Piazza shouldn't have his number retired for the Mets, should be in their Hall of Fame, but not retired. For the Yankees, Babe Ruth obviously retires number. Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle. Now it starts getting sticky because how many numbers could you retire? You retire Yogi's number. You retire, then if you retire Yogi's number, you got to retire Whitey Ford's number. Okay? Now, then if you retire their numbers, you got to retire Jeter's number. And if you retire Jeter's, well, Mariano's has to be retired because it's the same as Jackie Robinson, but you're retired as a Yankee under Rivera's, name.
100%. So you have mentioned, the Yankees have gone overboard. You and I agree with this. I think the extreme is what we don't agree with. It's not just Seaver. David Wright, I'm not saying there's many with the Mets, but David Wright certainly deserves it. And with the Yankees, so do Mattingly and Jeter. And
well, you think David Wright deserves to have his number retired?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Does Keith Hernandez deserve to have his number retired?
Yeah.
Okay. Does Dwight Gooden?
I'll have to say yes.
Darryl Strawberry.
Daryl's, we're getting to a less case, but I'm still going to say yes with Daryl.
Mike Piazza.
No.
Okay.
No.
Willie Mays, they retired his number, I guess, with New York baseball. I mean,
it was just symbolic for him coming back to New York and ending where he started, right? That's all.
Yeah, if you make an argument for retiring Willie Mays' number, he was a New York Giant player. Yeah. They kind of want that New York link.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Then why not retire Duke Snyder's number? Is Gil Hodges' number retired? You could go there with the Mets. I mean, come on.
No, I wouldn't. Again, Yogi, I'm sorry, Willie, I would not do. I wouldn't do. And with the Yankees, I wouldn't retire all these guys who just because they won a bunch of World Series in the 90s. O'Neill, no. Bernie, probably not. Posada, no. All these guys are getting their numbers retired. No, I'm not doing it. Reggie, no. Even Catfish, no.
Well, Catfish didn't have his number retired, did he?
I think he did.
That would be crazy if he got it retired as a Yankee.
Pretty sure he did. And 9 should be retired for Nettles and Maris if it's going to be retired.
Nettles and Roy White should be in Monument Park, not have their number retired. There's a difference. There are ways to honor guys, Keith, by putting them in the. Before you know it, you're retiring so many darn numbers, and now we hear about numbers that maybe it should come out of retirement. That makes a mockery of everything.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter, the Giants, first round draft choice, number 3 overall. He gets in touch with Lawrence Taylor. Oh, would you want to retire your number for me? And
Nah.
Taylor was very polite. He said, no, get your own legacy. You had the nerve to ask these guys to give you their number if you come out of retirement. For them, get your own number. Phil Simms was going to volunteer giving up his number, but then he was told not to by his family. And
Yeah.
retired, it is retired. Leave it alone.
I agree with that. Let's move on a little bit. Football news this week. We've had some big football news. You had brought up, interesting, the Jets signed Wilson and Gardner to exactly the same contract, which is very interesting. Gardner becomes the highest paid cornerback of all time, I believe. But they were upstaged a little bit by JT Watt signing this week and becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the National Football League. All these signings need to get done. I mean, the Jets had to lock up Wilson. They had to lock up Gardner, who had a little bit of a down year last year. And obviously the Steelers could not, they talked about entertaining trade offers for Watt, but Watt means too much to that team. Your thoughts on all of this?
On all of those. Okay, TJ Watt, I don't like the way he finished the year. I don't like the way he finished the year last year.
He's 33 years old, isn't he?
Well, he's 31. It's going to, excuse me, this call I'm getting here.
Tell Frank you'll get with him later.
Yeah. So, what am I? Okay, TJ Watt, I don't like the way he finished the year. Okay? He's 31. What's he going to be? It's a 3-year deal. In the last 5 games, he got like 2 sacks or something, and the stats were really down. Is it a sign that he slipped a little, that they play him out of position? I just don't know. But TJ Watt, if he's the TJ Watt we know, he's a game wrecker. He's worth it. He's one of the few difference makers on defense.
Will he be 3 years from now? I mean, isn't this about the time his brother's body started to betray him? Was about 31, 32, and just as good or maybe a better player than JT.
It's risky. If you hold out to sign him to a 2-year deal, you're not going to sign him to a 1-year deal. You risk losing him. They're taking a chance, the Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't like the way he finished the year last year, the last 5 games of the Steelers are losing all those games. What's the reason? If he had an injury he was trying to play through and he was compromised and the Steelers knew that and they know he'd be a different player if he was completely healthy, he'd be his old self, then it's fine. I would do the deal if I were the Steelers, okay? Even though I would have given him the contract, I'm giving it to him nervously. Okay, in the Jet case with Garrett Wilson, I'm all in with them giving him the contract because going forward, Garrett Wilson is going to establish himself as one of the best receivers in the NFL, an elite receiver, no doubt about it. He doesn't have a great quarterback throwing to him in Justin Fields, but that's his college quarterback. He had success with Justin Fields in college, and he had an Aaron Rodgers problem, Garrett Wilson. Not so much personally. Rodgers and him never fully connected, and I put that more on Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers was looking out for Alan Lazard, Devontae Adams, his old guys with the Packers, So I'm fine with that. The Sauce Gardner contract I'm not comfortable with. I hate saying it. Sauce Gardner as a rookie was great. Last year, he was good, just plain good. Not very good, Keith. Not very good, good. And they're paying him superstar money, okay, making him the highest paid corner in the history of the game. And I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it. I would have risked letting Sauce Gardner move on at some point. Because what are the chances of him having a complete turnaround?
I think they're very good, actually. I think he got caught up with the overall malaise in that team. That whole defense did. That defense as a whole wasn't as good last year as it was the year before. And I think they got caught up with everything that was going on the other side of the football, with the quarterback, with coaching staff, with everything. And I think Sauce Gardner's a good bet to bounce back. And I'm okay with both of these signings, actually.
Look at Sauce Gardner's frame. He's a thin guy. He doesn't look like a strong, powerful guy as far as, tackling goes. And he had some issues tackling a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Deion Sanders never tackled anybody, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So
yeah,
Again,
I'd like Deion's weak point tackling. Sometimes some of these great players, legendary players, who people considered the best of all time in their position, they had weaknesses. Like the great Jim Brown never blocked. Deion Sanders didn't like to tackle. He tried to avoid it as much as he could, yet they were great, Jim Brown carrying the football and Deion Sanders shutting down a receiver.
Now, I'm not saying Sauce Gardner shouldn't tackle better, by the way. He needs to do that better or make more of an effort. Brian seems to agree with me a little bit that whole defense took a downward turn after Saleh left, and I think it was a lot of things.
You know what we're going to see with Saleh this year? Robert Saleh, who got fired as the head coach of the New York Jets when they were 2-3 into the last season, and when they lost the game in London to the Vikings, Woody Johnson, who was an ambassador in England, was embarrassed, because he just lost in front of his people in England. Saleh gets fired. Now, Saleh he's returned to the 49ers, where he was the defensive coordinator before he got the Jet job, and he's the defensive coordinator there once again. But the true test of how great a defensive coordinator Saleh might be is going to come in the form of Bryce Huff. Because when Bryce Huff was on the Jets, he was absolutely, he was outstanding. So the Jets were able to, let him go. The Eagles signed him basically. It was basically a flip for Hassan Reddick. But Bryce Huff totally struck out with the Eagles. He was awful. They couldn't put him on the field. That's how bad he was. So now Bryce Huff has moved on to the 49ers. And if Robert Saleh could get him playing at an all-star level again, it would be, wow, what a defensive coordinator, we're going to say.
Yeah. 100%. By the way, all these contracts we talked about, a lot of guaranteed money too. $85 million for Wilson and Gardner, and over 100, I believe, for Watt.
Well, the difference between the NFL and Major League Baseball, for the most part, and even the NBA to a large extent, is guaranteed deals. A contract, you have to look at the guaranteed money. Because if it's not guaranteed, it's not true money. They're only going to give it to you if you're playing and you have your A game there all the time. But they got substantial guaranteed money, So, good for them.
And it's only the top guys that get this guaranteed money. We forget about that. Some of these big contracts that get signed, the guys are never going to realize that money, as you said.
They'll get enough of it. You get certain guys. They'll have let's say $30 million deal. They might have 13, 15 million guaranteed. So, they'll be set.
I talk about this all the time when I'm talking about baseball players and whatever, and how much they get or don't get. I mean, we're talking about life-changing money for anybody with the stuff that we're talking about. Just making 1 year of what they make is life-changing.
Well, that's it has a lot to do with how an athlete can negotiate what his lifestyle is. You see a guy like Jokic holding off on getting an extension with the Denver Nuggets because if he waits a year, he could get more money.
Right.
And he doesn't know whether he'll want to be with the Nuggets unless he feels they can win a championship. And there's always a risk of getting injured and not getting your $200 million altogether. The guy wants $250 million. Instead of that, you want to hold out because you could get $325 million if you wait a year more. You risk losing everything. But if you already have a player $30-40 million, you could say to yourself, okay, the worst that'll happen, I can never play again. I can live off that.
Right. Well, listen, basketball's where the stupid money is. That's for sure. Right.
Yeah.
Now, so, and Brian I agree with Brian. I think all three of these guys deserve the paydays that they're getting. So I'm good with all of that.
That's a segue. Basketball, Keith. Contracts.
Where you want to go there? I know
Damian Lillard returning to Portland.
Yeah, who's not going to play next year because of an injury, most likely. Maybe he comes back late in the year. Returns to Portland and gets a full no-trade contract for 26 and 27, I believe. Anyway, him and LeBron are the only two that I'm aware.
I don't get this. I don't get any of this. I do not get any of this. Okay. I mean, I'm trying to fully understand that. I'm a little different, Keith. Maybe I hold a little more of a grudge from my end. If I'm the Portland Trail Blazers, I'm looking at it this way. Damian Lillard forced his way out of Portland. He did it in a nice way. And I have a soft spot in my heart for Damian Lillard more than any other NBA player because he's a big boxing fan. He's genuinely a big boxing fan. And if I was able to get in touch with him, he'd actually come on the podcast with Frank and myself and love talking boxing.
He'd come on with you guys.
And he's a good guy from everything I hear. Very good guy. But he wanted to leave Portland for only one reason. He had no chance of winning a championship. Right. And I can understand that. But that's chasing the ring. Okay, I get it. So now he has the worst type of injury. He's probably going to miss all of next year. Maybe he could come back at the end of the year, but he's probably going to miss all of next year. And Portland is paying him like $14 million a year for 3 years. That's the amount of money they're paying. And then he gets the rest from the Bucks. But why does Portland want him back so bad? He's going to go into the Hall of Fame, Damian Lillard, for sure. At some point, and he'll go in as a trailblazer. I get that.
Yeah.
But why do they want him back so bad? He's going to be at the end of his career when he starts playing again. I kind of feel that way. I just don't get all this from their perspective.
He'll be a shadow of his former self by the time he plays. He's coming back from an Achilles injury, which is not easy to do in the NBA or anywhere, but the NBA especially.
He got it from Milwaukee, Brian. He got his retirement contract from the Bucks. He walked away with $113 million from the Bucks. You don't have to. It's not like Portland should pay him because they appreciate his services over the years and they're giving him a last payout out. I understand the way that could work if you have a classy organization. Look, Jerry Reisendorf, the Bulls owner, actually did a classy thing. At the end of Scottie Pippen's career, they gave Scottie Pippen a 2-year contract for $10 million a year, $20 million, which was really good money at the time, and probably more than Scottie Pippen could have gotten elsewhere. And the reason Jerry Reisendorf did it, he said, because we underpaid you before. We didn't pay you as much as you deserved. So we're kind of trying to make it up a little bit, to you here by giving you this amount. That's classy organizations do that. They kind of understand, But Lillard doesn't need that. $113 million with the Bucks, and he was getting paid well with Portland. He was getting market value before. It wasn't like they were underpaying him.
Well, we'll see how that all plays out. Again, we said the contracts here in the NBA are just, Brian Whitehurst said we're going to have $100 million a year player by the end of the decade. So,
hey, you want to hear something funny? The Mets, I mentioned Tom Seaver earlier. The Mets used to have this show that you'll remember, Keith, after games called Kindness Corner.
Yeah.
It was classic, great show. They'd have the star of the game usually would be a guest, and was prestigious. The players loved going on Kindness Corner. It was a goal of theirs. So they have Tom Seaver on there. And at that time, $100,000 a year was the gold standard for a superstar player. And kind of saying to Seaver, Tom, you were saying you could see the day of the $200,000 a year ball player. And Seaver was talking about that's going to be something in the future, the $200,000 a year ball player.
Hard to believe, right? In today's day and age, for sure.
Yeah.
I did want to get into. We aren't going to get into it, I don't think today, but we're going to talk Belichick and Kraft, but not today because I want to talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark, and we got some boxing, some very interesting boxing this weekend. We want to get into real quick before we leave basketball. Caitlin Clark is going to set out all of the All-Star weekend in Indiana where she plays. To me, this couldn't come at a worse time for the WNBA. She's the face of the WNBA. I know she's got a little groin issue. You got to be healthy for the second half, but when you're the face of the league, don't you have to show up and participate?
Not if she's injured. Not if she risks injury. Come on. This isn't what Tyrese Halliburton did Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Halliburton took the risk, of getting seriously injured because it was Game 7, not a championship game. I understand that. He wouldn't have done it another time. And kudos to him for Halliburton for doing it, because if Halliburton didn't do it, imagine how criticized he would have been. Okay? So, but whatever. That's another story. Caitlin Clark's case, who cares to watch Caitlin Clark, the coach? Who cares to see her sitting on the bench on the sideline? You want to see her play, but if she's injured, she can't play. But what I don't want to see, Keith.
She can't participate in the weekend events.
Keith, I don't want to see her back in the lineup a few days later playing for the Fever. That's what I don't want to see. And that's what bothers me. We were talking about Major League Baseball, the All-Star game, players that miss it claiming they're injured. There should be a rule. Any player selected to the All-Star game who can't play, who begs off because of an injury, is not allowed to play for 10 days afterwards when the season resumes.
In Major League Baseball, they're not even pretending. J-Rod said, I want to rest up and get mentally right and physically right for the second half. Several guys said that. They just didn't want to play. They don't even fake an injury. And listen, I don't think she's got a groin injury, which, again, I'm not dismissing. This isn't the same thing as Halliburton going out there, and we know from past history that the injury he had, he was risking tearing his Achilles the entire time he went out there, because we know that injury leads to what he ended up having. She's not going to have that type of devastating injury if she went out there and played.
These groin pulls, they can last a long time. Believe me, they can last and linger a long time. I'm taking it. Listen, I'm sure she wants to play. She's showing up. You think it's not bothering her that she's not playing?
I hope.
Obviously, she wants to play.
Yeah.
And she probably is embarrassed to be a coach, but the league is appealing to her and putting her in a spot. If she says no, it looks bad. So she's cooperating.
This league is losing money hand over fist, and they need Caitlin Clark in these situations. And
did you see what Shaq did with this Angel Reese thing?
I didn't. I didn't see the whole article. No, I don't know exactly what happened there.
He's a mentor. Shaq claims to Angel Reese, and he says he's told Angel Reese not to clap back at Caitlin Clark. Shaq, Angel Reese has started all this talk. She's the complete instigator. She's totally jealous of Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's all. I mean, Angel Reese is a great player in her own right. And yes, Caitlin Clark gets a large degree of the attention because she's a white player, which is a rarity, a white superstar. If she was black, she wouldn't get the same level of attention. I know what the players are thinking in the WNBA, but it's what it is. If Otani wasn't from Japan, he wouldn't get the same level of attention.
I'm unsure about that.
Japan.
Unsure about that, but I get your point.
I'm about that in Otani's case, but Otani's a great player. Listen, I want to detour a little. Can I call a little audible? It wasn't on 100%. Preparation. Rashee Rice, top wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay, trouble with the law.
Yep.
Got into an accident traveling 119 miles an hour. I repeat, 119 miles per hour, Fortunately, no one was killed. Him or anyone else are badly injured. I saw a replay on it. The Rashi Rices of the world, strike fear into me because they're on the roads all the time. No matter how careful you're driving, they pose a risk to society. The judge gave him 5 years probation and 30 days in jail. Now, if Rashi Rice doesn't have any criminal record at all, and from what I gather, he doesn't, that sentence is fair as far as those two things go. I don't like the idea he could serve the 30 days whenever he wants in the next 5 years. Come on. You're giving this clown a choice who is going 119 miles per hour. But this is why I'm disappointed. The judge had the power to take his driving license away. And what the judge should have done, suspend, take away his driving privileges for the next 10 years. 10 years. Make him take Ubers, whatever. Get the point across. Okay? And also, I want to get the point across, too, if I'm a judge. If you have to see your probation officer once a week, I'm not building it around the football season to accommodate you. You see him on Friday afternoons. I don't care how inconvenienced the Chiefs are, how much it hurts the Chiefs. Listen, he might be a good person, Rashi Rice, but he acted ridiculously irresponsible, and he could have killed people with his irresponsibility. He came out with a statement taking full accountability. I would lay the law down. I would have taken away his license for 10 years.
Listen, the DA said he was fortunate not to get hurt and he hopes he learns. He was this close to being Henry Ruggs with the Raiders. I mean, you could have killed people, including yourself, and you could have killed people, and now you wouldn't be looking at 30 days in jail. You'd be looking at, 30 years in jail. So these guys got to learn. They got to learn from the mistakes of their brethren in the league, and nobody seems to learn from anybody else.
Yeah, let me tell you, everyone shows remorse when they can gain something out of it. When I was coaching, one of the players was disrespectful to me, and that player got suspended. So what happened, one of the other adults then brought the player over to me, and the player was contrite, apologizing, accepting full accountability. And I said, that's good. I accept your apology, but the penalty still stands. You're going to have to be out this amount of time. That's not changing.
Right.
But I accept your apology. Then the player starts cursing at me again, meaning that the apology was nothing, like I suspected it was nothing at all. Everyone's contrite when they need something, in return. And look, listen, maybe it's right, 119 miles per hour. You have to be a complete idiot not to realize how dangerous and irresponsible that is.
Does your car even go 119 miles an hour, Jack?
Oh, man. Listen, I forgive Rashi Rice, but you have to come down a little harder on him than that. I'm not saying ruin his career. He could still play with the Chiefs with this penalty. Just take his license away. We had a boxer, Bobby Ches, okay? He was stopped 4 times for driving while intoxicated. The 4th time it happened, the judge took his driver's license away for 20 years. 20 years. That's getting your point. You've had it. It shouldn't have gotten down to the 4th time. That you just can't drive anymore.
It doesn't anymore.
And then if the person disregards the ruling and he drives anyway, then they've got to be put in jail and case closed.
That doesn't happen in the real world today. It is tougher today. You get a couple of DWIs, you're going to jail. Anybody.
Yeah,
I'm going to jail.
Listen, reckless driving is reckless driving regardless of the circumstance, whether you're, over the alcohol limit or not. The person who you're barreling into with your car, they don't distinguish between alcohol and not. And I support all these laws now, but we got to get tough on these, the reckless drivers. But I'm done with that editorial.
That's good. Let's listen. You talked about boxing, and before we finish up, we got some interesting matchups this weekend, and we can start wherever you want. We got a heavyweight match between Usyk, a rematch, right? Between Usyk and Du Bois. I think Usyk handled him pretty easily a couple years ago.
Yeah, Usyk is defending the world heavyweight championship. If I was disappointed in my co-host Frank Laterzo. He wrote down it was a unification match. It's not a unification match. I know Du Bois holds the IBF title. What always happens when a guy holds all the belts, he's considered the undisputed champion. But within 60 days, one of the four belts gets vacated all the time.
Right.
So the other guy's not the champion. Daniel Du Bois isn't a champion of anything unless he beats Usyk. Don't tell me the IBF. That's a joke. They all want their own belt holder, all these sanctioning bodies. And they all come together, unification match, when the sanctioning fees are there. But it's intriguing because Du Bois has won 3 fights since then, and he's looked good. And he's primed for the rematch. He's a threat to Usyk. I think Usyk wins. I think it's going to be a hard-fought decision, something like 8 rounds to 4. But I think it's going to be a very good fight, and I give Du Bois a chance of springing the upset, even though I don't think he will. Frank Laterzo is a lot more confident than I am that Du Bois will handle him decisively. I think that Usyk will handle him decisively. Usyk will win the fight, I feel, but it's a tough fight for him, and I think it goes the distance. Manny Pacquiao coming back to the ring at age 46. He's 46.
46. I thought he was
Mario Barrios, who isn't a world beater. Is it possible Pac-Man ekes out a decision? Yeah, it could happen. But at age 46, it's probably going to end bad for Pacquiao. Maybe he gets stopped inside the distance. That wouldn't surprise me, and maybe just loses clearly on points the way I think it'll play out. But
is Pacquiao? Why is Pacquiao fighting? Do you think his legend? His legend is cemented. Is he fighting because he has to fight? Does he need the money? What's the deal? Do you think with Manny Pacquiao?
Well, Pat Riley said it once when he got back into coaching. He said, "I'm a coach. It's what I do." He's a fighter. It's what he does.
Coaches aren't getting punched in the face, so
Sugar Ray Leonard said people think because we have these big homes and fancy cars, we don't, shouldn't be fighting, but we need the excitement in our life. It's what we do. Look, when you're a kid and you fight not because you want the glory of being champion of the world in the beginning. It's something you get into. It's in your blood. You like doing it. And then as you go up the ladder, the goals start coming into place. But it's what he does. But they shouldn't be doing it at a certain point because we see the way taking the punches affects these fighters in later years.
46 is 46 when Foreman won his title back, or was he?
45. But
45?
Foreman was losing his fight so badly to Michael Moorer. He wasn't winning hardly a second of the fight, and he won by a knockout. Boxing, you could win the fight on a shortcut. It's not like the NBA. It's not like you could be losing by 30 points, and then 20 seconds later, you're up 2 points. It doesn't work that way.
You like Pacquiao then to win this fight?
No, I like Barrios to win a wide decision. He might even stop Pacquiao. It's the age 46. I have a hard time getting past that. Barrios is no world beater, though. But
there is another title fight on that card. Is it something
Sebastian Fondora, even money fight? Very intriguing. Could go either way. I don't know who's going to win, Keith. The first time they fought, I was confident Sue would win, and Fondora won. This time, it could go either way. I just don't know. Who could toss-up fight in the true sense of the word?
Great stuff. And we'll talk about the results of these fights on Monday. We'll get into Belichick and Kraft on Monday, and back to the world of baseball. Who knows what other news will come up? It's every day there's something new in the world of sports. Usually a quiet week, as we said, and it's been pretty busy.
Monday, you'll let us know how well Caitlin Clark coached.
Yeah, we'll see how well she coached, and maybe we can give you the British Open champion on Monday. Jack, thank you. Real quick shout out for myself. I want to give some thoughts and prayers out to my good friend Joe the Pro Morendo, he's battled a good fight, and he's struggling right now. We want to give our thoughts and prayers out to Joe Morendo. So, Joe, I hope you're listening, and I hope you see you soon. So, guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you later today with the MLB update. I'll see you Sunday with a Sunday stream of consciousness, and we'll be right back here with Jack for the Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook on Monday at 8 a.m. Check us out then. Have a good weekend.
Big show tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern.
Jesus, I'm sorry. Debate show tomorrow, too. You got to get those in there, Jack. I forget. Good job. Guys, have a great one. Bye-bye.